YouTube is up. So anybody that's listening on YouTube, we are up and cackling on there, doing that. We'll see if I can refresh the YouTube page while I'm looking at it. Need to figure out how to do the comments in there. Ah, yes, I see we are live. I can actually see myself on YouTube. I need to turn my volume off on my computer. Ah, there we go. Ah, I see. It says say something. Where do I hit? Ah, we are on Facebook. How come you don't run the music when you start Facebook? We're gonna have to figure that out.
The Toyota San Bernardino Recording Studio presents IE Newswire Daily with Roy Blecker. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Oh, we're back in a tumultuous Taco Tuesday, bringing the show on. We're up on live on YouTube and on IE Newswire on YouTube and Facebook Live, bringing you all the news and events all across the world, California, Inland Empire, Southern California, Northern California, and all points beyond. Because there was a lot, at least the local news the last 24 hours wouldn't, but there's been some national news that's been popping here lately. So, again, there's always plenty of stuff to talk about when we're on the air here on that. Uh, some of the things we'll get into are esteemed, and I use that word very lightly. Senator Kamala Harris dropped out of the senator from California dropped out of the presidential race with lots of excuses and that, except probably the real reason why she dropped out of the race, but we'll cover that. Duncan Hunter finally pled guilty in the long-standing corruption deal where he was accused and now pled guilty to one count of misusing campaign funds down there. He's San Diego congressman, second generation. His dad was a longtime congressman down there, and he was now. I imagine he's going to resign, or that was supposedly part of the plea deal going on. So that's another contentious little tidbit that's going on that broke today. On top of that, uh, yeah, librarians are asking for help, but you don't believe what kind of help they're asking for. We'll run that later. Uh, one thing, and you ever seen logs grow sideways on the street? Well, we'll run a story on that where they're doing that, and you won't believe the reason why they're doing that. But yeah, why logs all of a sudden started growing sideways on Oakland streets on that. More stuff coming up on that. Have the video one running up because I want to get to the Kamala Harris stuff off the beginning because there's a lot of implications on that one going across the board on Kamala going finally suspending her campaign. And just for a few of you that out there, the reason they don't announce that they're quit because if they quit or say the campaign's over, then they only have a few days to close out the bank accounts, everything else. She will, I will say, most likely she will use her influence as California senator to pay off her campaign debts. So that's the main reason why they suspend their campaign. If you listen to that, and they are not quitting or saying it's over on that. So she's a real piece of work. What's interesting though, to me, is the old white guy, Joe Biden, is getting most of the black support. She hardly didn't get any of it, and being her claiming, that she's African American. Well, let's say that, but I mean, I think she's from Jamaica and Canada. How you make that leap? To each his own. But she didn't really gain a lot of that. She was down to 2% in the polls, and some of the polls in single digits. Looks like even Bloomberg, who just announced that he's in the race, was pulling away from her on the deal. So it was that, but there was a couple of deals, and I think Tulsi Gabbard, the congresswoman who is running for president, been in the Democratic debates from Hawaii, who was on there, said. She commented on the stuff of that. She had a real good, her and Kamala had a real good exchange going up in the July debate, but we covered it on the November debate. They had another little interaction on it. So have video one up and ready to go on that. And as soon as you got her queued up, play video one. Here's Kamala Harris at the November 20th debate.
Who is attempting to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, who during the Obama administration spent 4 years full-time on Fox News criticizing President Obama.
That's
who
ridiculous,
has spent full-time,
That's
who has spent full-time criticizing people on this stage as affiliated with the Democratic Party. When Donald Trump was elected, not even sworn in, buddied up to Steve Bannon to get a meeting with Donald Trump in the Trump Tower, fails to call a war criminal by what he is as a war criminal, and then spends full time during the course of this campaign, again, criticizing the Democratic Party. What we need on the stage in November is someone who has the ability to win. And by that, we need someone on that stage who has the ability to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump, and someone who has the ability to rebuild the Obama coalition and bring the party and the nation together. I believe I am that candidate.
Okay, stop it right there and hold it.
Congresswoman Gabbard, I'll give you a
on both counts, that's not going to be you. And that's why I pointed out that she got very little black support and she was down to 2% of the polls. And you know what? You are not the one that's going to beat Donald Trump. To my fellow residents in California, why are you electing people? You elected her attorney general. You've elected her, your federal senator. She's made a laughing stock of that just by that whole rendition. She never answered the questions, and you're going to see that in the next little clip coming up on that. She never answered any questions of that. You got to get to the point of what's going on. And yes, yes, we do need to come over to the check out the Christmas tree deal. Yes, Lori, maybe we will meander out to Hemet there to check out the Christmas party. We'll talk about that later. But Kamala, you're not going to be the one that's going to be running this deal. And what it is that Californians, please look at the light your elected representatives are shining your state in, and they're a reflection of you because you voted for her. She absolutely had no ideas, no plan to do anything. Basically, what? I was going to carry on the Obama coalition and I was going to fight Donald Trump mainly. I'm trying to rally the left-wingers and the blacks and you Latinos. Just vote for me because I'm it. Well, people are want to see. They don't want to hear about that stuff. They want to know how, what, and why is your track record has been to do that. So get ready to play the rest clip. This is Tulsi Gabbard who's going to tell you why Kamala Harris is not going to be president of the United States.
What Senator Harris is doing is unfortunately continuing to traffic in lies and smears and innuendos because she cannot challenge the substance of the argument that I'm making, the leadership and the change that I'm seeking to bring in our foreign policy, which only makes me guess that she will, as president, continue the status quo, continue the Bush-Clinton-Trump foreign policy of regime change wars, which is deeply destructive. This is personal to me because I served in Iraq. I left my seat in the state legislature in Hawaii, volunteered to deploy to Iraq, where I served in a medical unit where every single day I saw the terribly high human cost of war. I take very seriously the responsibility that the president has to serve as commander-in-chief, to lead our armed forces, and to make sure always, no, I'm not going to put party interests first. I will put the interests of the American people above all else.
So, the reason why you would do that, and you know the Obama policy, and that, and you know where they said, you know you know I've said it, the Bush Obama policies of foreign policies uh, has been way off a kilter. We should not. But the difference between Kamala Harris and Tulsi Gabbard is, as Tulsi said, she served in the military, in the medical unit, and seen the destruction of what's going on over in those foreign occupancies. They're not they are not defense of the United States. They were military occupancies of going to that. And I hope this is to my friends from the center of the right who've defended a lot of this stuff. You know, it's time to wake up and have a sensible foreign policy. You do not put American lives in harm's way to be hurt, maimed, and killed for your own political money-making purposes. That is probably one of the toughest decisions and one of the hardest decisions our elected representatives should have to make, and they should only make it when there is a direct threat against the United States. Obama was on the wrong side of it. Both of the Bushes and Clinton especially were on the wrong side of this. That's Democrats and Republicans. Dwight D. Eisenhower told you in 1960 when he was going out the door, 5-star general and 2-term president, watch for the military-industrial complex. It's a lot about how the dollars are spent. I hate to say it, but all this stuff is looking for that stuff, and you gotta stop. You know, and friends on both sides got to deal with this realistically. It's killing us. It's not only killing us economically, and we can get into that, but the more important part is it's killing us. It's killing and injuring and costing and destroying many, many lives all across the board, which is an even higher concern, if not crime, in my book. So when we're looking at this stuff, that's the discussion. That's why Tulsi was wanting the meeting with Trump, agreed with Trump, and Trump is pulling us out of these conflicts and actually bringing peace talks of that to the Taliban, which he reported. When all y'all supported all these others, and I'm talking to both of you, the Democrats or the center left that applauded Clinton and Obama when they were doing that, and those of you on the center right that applauded these policies under both Bushes, you know, a lot of us have taken a lot of flack. Ron and Rand Paul, especially, you know, up and down the line. Trump took a lot of flack for it. You know, Reason Foundation and that, and I've taken a lot of flack from a lot of people on both sides of this deal on doing what's right, but it's right. It's the right policy, and we should. That's why somebody like Kamala Harris should not be president, because she does not have the experience or the knowledge or the depth to understand the implications of all this stuff. And how she became, well, I can get into how she became a federal senator of that. One day, and I hope to get Willie Brown on here, the superstar. Maybe you don't think he's a superstar, but he is. I mean, a long-time Politico operative, elected leader in California. He had a good story to tell on her, but we'll get into that. So that's one thing I wanted to cover on today's deal. We talk about it a lot on this stuff. And you know, there was a story down in San Diego. Librarians were asked, so have video number 2 up and ready to truck along. Librarians were asking for a lot of help, and but you ain't gonna believe why. It's something that we talk about a lot. We do, and we will up until the time of that. But you're thinking, well, maybe they need volunteers for books. Maybe they need some upgrades. Maybe they need to paint the walls in the library or something. Maybe they need some donations for books or something. Maybe they need some parents or adults to come over and read to the kids after school at the library. Maybe you're not in for a surprise, but this is what tell me when you got the video ready. This is what the librarians are asking for help, not only in San Diego, but this is going on at least all across California. Let the video roll.
Libraries are built for reading and research, and librarians are trained to help you find what you need. But some San Diego librarians are instead facing threats and violence and need protection on the job.
NBC7
The video just
investigates
froze.
reporter Mari Payton explains why librarians are asking judges, police, and their bosses for help.
A disruptive patron punched a librarian in the jaw at the North Park Branch Library. Another threatened to, quote, cut a librarian to pieces at the San Ysidro branch. Those are just two examples from public records we obtained that describe the
Just
sometimes
stop it right
dangerous
there.
conditions
Jesse,
at
you
San
had
Diego
a reaction off of that. I mean, why did you have a reaction off of that particular statement?
I can't recall it right now.
I mean, yeah, they're threatening librarians on that. Go ahead and roll the story. Yes.
libraries. Attacks like these are happening more at public libraries.
Fight because somebody didn't say excuse me.
While fights are rare at our local libraries, patrons here do sometimes get abusive, even violent.
Crime going on in the bathrooms, prostitution, drug dealing and drug taking, violence.
These court documents confirm San Diego librarians are often the target of that violent behavior. At least 16 librarians have asked the court for protection from unruly patrons.
Stop it right there.
The first.
Now, I want to. They're saying, "Oh, this happens." The reporter says this happens very rarely. 16 librarians have asked for help in this deal. That's not giving you alarm bells or something's going wrong or this is very slight going on when they're saying prostitution, fights, as you're seeing, drug dealing going on in the bathrooms, and all the whole harangue going on. Let the rest of the video roll.
Filed in March 2018 by 4 staffers at the North Park and University Heights libraries after a patron allegedly punched a 41-year-old female librarian in the jaw. This March, 2 staffers at the San Ysidro branch claimed a patron threatened to cut them into pieces with an unidentified weapon. In September, employees at the Pacific Beach Library sought a restraining order against a female patron who alleged escalated her threatening and harassing behavior after staff asked her to stop the intimidation.
These are things that librarians didn't sign up to be on the front lines of and to be first responders for.
In all these cases, a judge reviewed the evidence and issued a restraining order against the aggressors, prohibiting them from harassing, threatening, stalking, or physically attacking the library staffers, and ordering them to stay at least 100 yards away from the librarians, their workplace, home, and vehicle.
But a restraining order, only works if the person who's restrained follows the restraining order, so there's still a lot of fear among librarians as to how to deal with those situations.
That's why Michael Zuquette, general manager of the Municipal Employees Union, wants better security at city libraries. Zuquette told us armed guards help keep patrons in line at the Central Library. His union requested a similar help at branch libraries, and that's happening now, according to the city library director. Guards secure 24 of the 36 branches. Plus, there's safety training for library staff who are also taught how to recognize and respond to mental health problems. Library Director Misty Jones told us the safety and security of our staff and patrons is her #1 priority. Illegal activity and threats of violence are never tolerated and result in the patron's immediate suspension. But libraries are built for everyone. No one wants to keep anyone outside these doors.
But it's the public nature of these facilities that has made them a very difficult place to work in for the librarians.
The city library department will spend more than $1.5 million on security this year alone. To learn more about the city's effort to protect its librarians and see if your neighborhood branch has a security guard, go to our website, NBC7.com, and search library.
So they're trying to say, well, they know there's a big problem at the libraries. I mean, why do you think they're trying to move the Riverside Library from the Mission Inn? Because of all this, same stuff is going down there almost every day. That's why they want to move it away from the Mission Inn, because it's causing problems. You can't even let your kids go to the freaking library anymore because all this stuff is going on. No, there is a big problem going on in the library. This is happening all across California, in many areas. The dope dealers, the vagrants, the mentally challenged, people that really need to be held locked up away from society because they're a danger to all of us. They're wandering around in our libraries like this. And as long as these stories keep coming out, we're going to keep publishing them and spreading them because something has to be done about this stuff. It's getting flat ridiculous that you see these coming up. Or, and again, but what's really bad is they're trying to sugarcoat this stuff all the time. And it's something that you got to just look at and say, when is everybody going to be just say, we've had enough of this crap. We're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to sit here and do this stuff. And it's absolutely out of freaking control on this stuff because you never are going to get any change if you sit on your hands and you allow this stuff to happen. We have to we have to do this, and this is going to lead into my next story. So have the next video, number 3, up. Because sometimes you just have to take matters into your own hands. Like you said, have you ever seen logs growing sideways in the middle of the street? They're going back and forth on the deal, but finally, and in one of the places you'd probably never really expect this, but this would be up in Oakland. Some of the people just are flat getting tired of dealing with the messes that some of our public officials have let be made. So this is it. Check out how the logs are growing sideways in the streets of Oakland. Play video 3.
An Oakland neighborhood is quietly trying to keep the homeless from parking RVs in their area. Car-sized logs have mysteriously shown up on the street, and so far, no one seems to want to take credit or blame. NBC Bay Area Sonia Shin is live in Oakland. And Sonia, it sounds like you're seeing a lot of finger pointing out there now.
Yes, absolutely. I'm at City Hall right now where little has been done to get these logs removed.
I had a stroke almost a year ago, and the diagnosis with a mass in my brain and a mass in my liver and a mass in my lungs. And so I'm kind of in poor health.
Dennis Adair is one of the last people left living in an RV on Poplar Street between 18th Street and West Grand. He's lived here for about a year.
It's keeping them away, which is kind of hard because there's not many other places for them to go. But it's also, in a way, keeping the street not full of trash.
Giant logs as long as cars now line this street. We spoke to several people who told us it's clear what the logs are for, but they don't know where they came from. We did find several similarly sized logs in a nearby lot where crews are building a climbing gym. A Homeless Action Center staff attorney says the crisis is real and this isn't a solution.
Really the issue is the affordable housing crisis, and really the issue is what other better options are people to go to look for shelter.
NBC Bay Area contacted multiple city officials about the issue. Sean Maher, a spokesperson for the city, replied to us by text, saying that Oakland does not support the intentional obstruction of a public right-of-way, and that staff will be reaching out to council members and community stakeholders on this issue.
But as soon as you move, the logs will come appear in your spot.
The Public Works spokesperson also let us know that obstruction should be reported to OAK 311, that's OAK 311, and they will respond accordingly. Reporting live in Oakland, Sonia Shin for NBC Bay Area News.
Sonia, thank you.
There you go. I mean, the folks in Oakland are getting tired of it. And that's a brilliant idea. Yeah, they're going to the construction site or whatever. We'll go take these logs. They're probably telephone poles, I imagine, is what they were. And let's roll them down the side of the street so the vagrants can't park their motorhomes, which are, causing God awful knows what going on up and down the line on that stuff in that. It's about time we not that I'm advocating it, but you know what? Appears to be a little alleged civil disobedience going on out there. And I like how maybe some of the public employees or whatever, call us with the complaints or stuff. But, they don't seem to be too big in a hurry to get rid of those logs out there and let the vagrants roll their motorhomes and whatever out in front of the businesses on that. This was an absolutely brilliant idea. And maybe I'm gonna say this. This is like a warning sign. You don't want the vast majority of people to pop like a powder keg. And if you don't clean up some of this stuff that's going on, like we're talking about the libraries, it's in the streets, it's everywhere. The atmosphere that's around. You don't clean this stuff up, it's gonna blow. And there's a lot of other things that are going on out there, and that's kind of why I set this all up to look at that. And that's what I want to give people a little bit of a warning on that of what's going on. But because I see the potential of people when people in Oakland, which is not as Hillary C. would say, is not part of the vast right wing conspiracy by any stretch of the imagination. When the people of Oakland are getting tired of this crap and taking matters into their own hands. Well, the next spot of that is anarchy on the way. And again, that could not be pretty. But I think we got a long time caller, Dwayne from Idaho, up on the air. Are you there?
I am, sir. How are you this evening?
Did you get a chance to watch any of the first part of the show, or especially the one on the dudes in Oakland putting the logs on the road? To block the vagrants from parking their motorhomes in front of the businesses and stuff?
I did, and let me roll back to the first part of the show.
Okay.
Kamala Harris gone, no surprise. Thank you. She'd have been a disaster. She was a train wreck for California. How she ever made it? Well, that's another talk for another day. On a personal note, I personally benefited greatly from the use of the very library you were talking about next to the Mission Inn. I don't know how many times a friend and I frequented that place together while we were going to school and even out of school. It was a great resource. It had a tremendous amount of different programs and things, and it's sad to see them close that because they have to move it because of essentially allowing the downtown Riverside area to start to become like Oakland.
Yes.
So we'll segue into the Oakland thing. I think it is a stroke of genius by the people there that are fed up with the feckless politicians that sit on their hands that I'm sure do not live in that neighborhood and are tired of nothing being done but moving their lower jaw and collecting their paycheck. I think it's high time people got involved, and when the politicians don't do what you elected them to do, it's time to take matters into your own hands. And I think it's brilliant. If you're not going to clean the mess up, we will simply create a mess of our own, which will supersede anybody's ability to park anything there. And at what point in time did it become completely acceptable for you to go get a 1970 motorhome and live in it on the street? I realize I listen to the man. I don't hold anything against him. I realize he's got medical issues. Then let's get him some medical help. But you know what? That still does not preclude the fact that you don't have a right to inhabit the street. Go find something else somewhere else. There are places in the United States that you can live out of your motorhome in. Okay, I know somebody that lived out of a motorhome, somewhat nicer than that gentleman's, but he's a friend of mine, and he lived in his motorhome as he traveled for a couple of years. He did that. So there are ways to do it properly, but why is it that no one is concerned about the level or lack of sanitation that this situation brings? I mean, look, it's a matter of health, theirs and ours. You cannot park a bunch of garbage in the street and expect not to have an impact on the environment, on the local property prices, on the value of everything around, on your ability to live your life as you see fit, when you don't want to allow your kids to go out and play at the park because it's infested with needles from junkies and waste from the homeless. all of the lefties, Kamala Harris was really good at this. We're all going to be so compassionate towards these people. All right, where was her compassion? What genius event did she proffer up? What wonderful proposal did she bring to the table to fix these problems? Zero, nil, noil, nothing. She came up with zip, okay? And that's exactly what you get from the leftist cabal. I'm not talking the center-left people, because most of those people have half a brain and you can have a conversation with them. But when we're talking about people like her and the Jerry Browns of the world that took California, and now Gavin Newsom, who think it's perfectly acceptable, to allow the homeless just to come into the state and do whatever they want. I want to know how long it's going to take before they invest, or should I say this, how long will it take before the homeless figure out you can live in Beverly Hills, you can live in the upper North Shore area of Long Beach, you can live in the upper end of San Francisco, right next to all the actors and actresses and all the rich elite of California, and they're not going to do a damn thing about it because they wanted you there? Or do you think maybe the Beverly Hills Police Department might usher these people to the edge of the city? I'm just wondering how long it takes before that happens, because from every indication that I see, and every time you turn on the news down there, and you've reported this on your show, you look, the people in L.A. City Hall cannot even get to work because they have to step over the fecal matter, the needles, the waste product, and all of the homeless, the tents, the sheer filth, the garbage. They can't even get to work to perform their duties because they have to go through a minefield to even get there. And the city does nothing. I mean, these people are crazy. If they don't think that the next thing that's going to happen is you look at what's happening in Oakland. That's a little adjustment. That's called, hey, politicians, we're tired. You'd better fix this. That's a little wake-up call. Hey, we're tired of the BS. You'd better get this straight and solve the problem. That's what we elected you. Now, we got some elections coming up, and hopefully, you'll get some people with half a brain in that state that'll win some key seats in that state and clean it up. Otherwise, what you're sitting on is the very thing you indicated. You got a powder keg with the fuse lit, and Katie, bar the door if that happens. You will not like what you see next, because it's going to lead to a complete breakdown of any kind of societal norm. You'll have anarchy. It'll be rioting. It's going to get ugly. These people have, if you don't fix the problem, people will fix the problem. They'll take matters into their own hands, because if the law is not enforced, Roy, what else? What other option do they have?
There you go.
Basically you're telling the people of your state, we're not going to fix the problem and we're not going to enforce the law.
That's it. And again, I mean, I think you share the same concerns, because you just kind of look at the human behavior in that. Okay, now this is just not a bunch of right-wing conspiracy nuts or goose-stepping nationalists or anything that the rhetoric is, which is all a bunch of BS false stuff anyway. But let's set that aside. When you're talking about the residents, business owners of Oakland, the small business owners, this is not the 100-story high-rises in downtown San Francisco or whatever in the Silicon Valley. This is in downtown or suburbs of Oakland, that where the general small businesses are at, and they freaking had enough of this crap. We had the lady who was the salon owner that was like in her 30s, where the vagrants were sleeping and crapping right in their door, and people had to step over them to get into her business, and she's moving it because she can't tolerate it anymore. These stories keep coming about day after day. People are out there. People from all walks of life are starting to get on edge and at wit's end on this stuff.
Yeah, and look, you don't want you don't want to be put in a position to have to handle that in the only matter that is really open to you, which is you walk up to the person, you say, look, you don't have a right to squat here, you need to move on. And when they don't, you got a couple of options. Okay? Apparently the cops will not move them, so you can move them, or you can take their stuff and throw it in the dumpster. I mean, I know this sounds drastic, but I think it's time we had a little lesson in civics and self-reliance. And if it was me cleaning the place up, I would call the trash hauling department. I would call up the contractor who hauls the trash, and I would say, you're going to get all of anything that's not moving on Saturday, I want it to go down this street, and we're going to take the prisoners out of the jail cell, and they're going to walk down the street in chains, and they're going to pick up everything that's on the street and throw it away. We're done with these people. And then these people can either move on if they wish. And you've done the story. We've seen this. They try to help the people that need help. Most of the people do not want help. What they want to do is sit in their filth and live that way because they don't have any responsibility. They don't have to do anything. All they do is hold their hand out. They stand on the corner with their signs. Here's the other thing. Quit giving them money. When you see these people standing at the side of the road, no matter what they're doing, pulling at your heartstrings, no matter what the card says, they got their little dog next to them or somebody's kid that isn't theirs. And, oh, my family's busted, we're broke, we're trying to make it to, Las Vegas for a job. Quit paying these people. Quit giving them money. Don't let them wash your windows. Stop that behavior, and they will finally, they're going to have to turn to crime. Then that gives you the reason to say, oh, you are now engaged in criminal behavior. The law will now come down on your butt. I realize you can't lock them all up, but at what point in time do you get fed up and say, we've had enough? I mean, the people of Oakland are telling their establishment, hey, look, we've had enough of this. Wake up. You better fix the problem. Because the next thing is, what you're going to have is you're going to have torchlight candle parades, and then there will be remnants of RVs left on the street. There won't be anything to live in.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. That we're getting, and that's again, like I say. I mean, I hope that I hope everybody would come together and say, hey, man, we got to start looking at this stuff and putting some real world solutions to this stuff. You mentioned it. Yeah, these, you got nothing against some people, and we want to get them all, those who want help, that's fine. But you mentioned that like RVs. You got an old broken down RV. If you're parking it on the side of the street, there's nowhere for the sanitation anywhere that's coming out that you're generating in the RV. Not to remember the number 1 and number 2, but all the garbage and everything else that's going on out there. There's no facilities. We do have facilities. They're called trailer parks, camp parks, RV centers, da-da-da. It's not the Walmart parking lot. It's not the curb on the side of the streets of business. Not only to mention that, just take that apart, where are the, people have probably been going there for decades to these businesses. They've been used to driving up to the curb. That's part of the convenience of having a small business or stuff on a city street like that. You can drive up to the curb, go in, get your business done, whatever, buy cupcakes, a hardware store, whatever of that. When people are parking their motorhomes across these streets, that's taking up parking spaces that customers going into the businesses are no longer available. So when you make it intolerable, they can't park. They're either going to go somewhere else, not do with it, maybe buy something online instead of buying it on local or something, and say, well, why should I drive to my local Ace Hardware or whatever because I can't get into park? Well, then you're ordering stuff online because we're making a society here that, is not conductive for everybody to survive and be happy in.
Well, no, and why is it fair that and let's just take the metropolitan Los Angeles area since this is, the thing that's probably most in everybody's, experience that's listening to your radio talk and listening to the YouTube cast here. So why is it acceptable to make those people pay taxes on their property for services that you are no longer providing? You're not cleaning the streets. You're not maintaining law and order. You are de facto, basically throwing your hands up. You are refusing to discharge the duties of your office and your oath to protect and serve. So, to me, the people ought to quit paying their taxes. Yeah, you want to talk civil disobedience? There you go. You call up your mortgage company and say, I've decided I'm going to separate my taxes out of my payment, so just let that go. I'm going to tell you something. There is nothing faster than a politician understands than cutting the gravy train off. You quit paying your tax fund, and I'm telling you what, you will get somebody's attention, and you will get some action.
Not that we advocate anybody doing anything illegal or anything like that, but yes, I mean, if you got to the scenario where people just started saying the heck with it, we're not funding this anymore, and a vast majority of that, and then the wheels of all this stuff is grinding to a halt, then you've got a big problem going on. And again, you take the reverse scenario of this, you take Venezuela or something, when you just keep just trying to feed all this stuff, and then, the socialism, communistic, everybody collective system, which has happened in every point in society that we've ever seen it, collapses, then 99.999% of us are in a big freaking world of hurt. And that's what goes on the deal. And then you really got problems. Not only is that where you just take, let's say, a vast majority pulled the taxes off or stuff of that, that would definitely be a dampener. But when you have an economy collapse, which has happened, greatest example, like I said, is Venezuela. Man, everybody's in a freaking world of hurt.
Well, it's not just Venezuela. You need to look. There's rioting going on in Brazil. There is rioting going on in several countries around the globe right now for several things. And what you're seeing is a renaissance of people seeking the ability to self-govern. You've got a New World Order crowd that wants the UN to control everything. You got our president over there right now. If it were up to me, I'd get the hell out of the UN today. I'd say, you know what? You guys decide whatever you want to do over here in Europe. We're not part of it anymore. You obviously are fully capable of funding and enforcing your side of the globe. Have at it. Don't call us. We'll call you. You know how much money we would save? And going back to your point at the early part of the show, I absolutely agree with you. Get the hell out of all of these foreign countries. How long do our kids have to die and fill graveyards until we've had enough? You need to go to these companies like Halliburton, Brown and Root that are vampires. These, for lack of a better word, I can't say it on the air, these institutions are parasites on the American taxpayer. They exist for no other reason than their own self-perpetuation to continually stir up wars so they can profit off of it. And you can go back as far as you want. We can make this case. We need to stop. Can you imagine, Roy, if we took that money and cleaned up the Veterans Administration and took care of these people that made the sacrifice for us, and then also helped these homeless people and did something positive with them, something to correct the problem. Quit treating the symptom, but actually go to the problem and fix it. Either it's a mental health issue or it's a lack of foot up the rear end issue. And we need to provide both. If we need a foot up the rear end, we need a foot up the rear end. If we need mental health, we need to get on that.
Yeah, it's a great day, and you put it. I mean, I think Trump's been on, but he's been saying, the other countries are going to have to pay their fair share on the United Nations and all this stuff. We're not footing the bill for all this crap anymore. Same thing. He's actually been the first president, probably in maybe our lifetime. Maybe Reagan did it a little bit, but actually is starting to pull us out of these foreign conflicts. And look, like I said, I mean, he when he was with the troops over there in Afghanistan, he said, "Yeah, we're opening up, and we've got some serious peace talks with the Taliban." When have you ever heard that between Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, all that stuff? When have you ever heard a president said, "Yes, we're in peace talks with what's supposed to be our mortal enemy or causing us a lot of problems over there, or one of the big reasons we had to be occupying these countries, and we're not doing what the so-called military experts were saying. We're doing what is probably a sound policy, and guess what? A sound policy looks like it's working very well."
I think so. I think he wants to get our troops out of these foreign entanglements in our time. Meaning in his term in office, he wants to end this. He made overtures to go to South Korea. First president that's ever sat down with anybody from that regime, and what was it, 60 years? We've got the first president that's come along and told China, "Hey, look, we'll do a deal with you, but it's not going to be a lopsided, one size fits all. China wins, America takes it in the rear again." He's not doing that. I mean, he's look, the guy, he's a businessman. That's why we hired him. He knows how to negotiate a deal, and the deal is it must be equitable for both sides. You have to be able to articulate the proper response and say, look, yes, we want free trade, but we want fair trade, equitable trade, so that our people here are getting access to your markets as well as you getting access to our markets. It's a win-win situation. But see, what they don't want is they don't want that parity, because then what happens is they lose control of their people. You're dealing with a communist dictatorship. They don't like westernization. Look what happened to the former Soviet Union. It was splintered off into various countries because it was an unsustainable situation, as it has been proven to be in every instance that it has been tried all across the world. Nowhere has communism been successful. People point to China and say, well, it's successful. No, it's communism light. I mean, look, those people over there got a whiff of Western culture, and the only thing that keeps them from evolving into a powerhouse and really being a world leader is the fact that their government has to maintain control over every single facet of their lives. And, at the same time, those people, look at the people in Taiwan, American flags. They want to be like us. Okay? I mean, I don't understand. And, of course, the president says, hey, look, we're signing an accord with them to help support them. Where before it was, hey, hands off Taiwan, we're not going to talk about that. He's like, no, we're not going there. You guys don't get to just march in here and stomp the crap out of a smaller country. We're done with that on this planet. You've got enough. You don't need to do that. And I think this president, and again, whether you like the guy or hate him, you have to at least respect the fact that he's taking the country in what I think is a positive direction. I mean, look at the things that have happened. None of the other presidents have bothered to sit down with any of these people. The Taliban, while, as far as I'm concerned, eradicate their butts. But you know what? It is much better if you can sit down, formulate some type of agreement, get the hell out of their country, and let them settle it. We've been constantly meddling over there.
Lisa Chow writes in, amen, she liked your comment. What mostly is needed is swift kick in the ass. Very few really have mental issues. And, I don't know that they don't have, a lot of them have mental issues, but, Yeah, in somewhere, and some of those are very difficult, or sometimes to get rid of on that. I mean, you could say it a lot of ways. I mean, a lot of them are very, either alcoholics, drug addicts, or both. And I mean, you could say that is part and parcel to a mental illness or whatever on that. But I want to shift gears a little bit on that of what. And another thing that is subject that has intrigued me or something coming out is the latest gun case that's before the Supreme Court. Seems like the ding dongs over there in the city of New York, had this law. Well, if you got a gun, you can't take it outside the city limits, and it was a stupid law that was blatantly unconstitutional. They passed it anyway. Well, what was even a little bit disconcerting was this through some of the other courts, this thing's going through. Well, the Supreme Court picks it up. Then they decide to pull it and say, "Well, you don't need to rule on this because it's no longer a moot point because we pulled the law." Things that, and I mean, I'm no lawyer or give legal advice on this stuff. One thing that, one thing that I did know, how much damage did you do to the people? If you're pulling the law, why are you pulling the law now? Did you know when you passed it, you were passing something blatantly unconstitutional? Did you go lawyer shopping to have a lawyer draw you an opinion to go through this to say, oh, yeah, this is constitutional under this, and then we do that? Believe me, I may have seen a lot of this stuff or done that behind the scenes, a lot of the stuff of how this stuff works. You'd be amazed sometimes if a lot of you could sit in or hear or some of the comments of how the sausage, i.e. political laws and stuff, get drawn up. It's a lot like, how are we going to screw these guys this time, and this is how we're going to do it. And this is how we can hide behind it. No, I think they need to pick up the court, or whoever brought the case needs to say, no, we want this case heard, and maybe possibility, and if there's any lawyer folks out there, backtrack this and say, what was your real intention of passing this law? Because pulling the law now, why are you pulling it? If you really thought it was a constitutional law and all this stuff, and it was great, and this is the way you wanted to go, and why are you pulling it now when you're pretty sure the Supreme Court was going to reverse it, and then you would have been in a big world of hurt? Because that, as far as the Constitution is written now, the Supreme Court is the last word, the final word on anything that has a federal constitutional issue.
Well, I agree, and I'm aware of this frivolous law that was passed, and I think you're right. I don't think they went lawyer shopping. I think they went judge shopping, and they found one of these, wacko leftist judges that, look, you have to understand, there is a distinct sickness with these people that they want to control you and me. And the only thing stepping in their way is the fact that you and I have this little thing called the Constitution that guarantees our right to self-defense and to protect ourselves. Also, most importantly, is our right to protect ourselves against a tyrannical government. And they want a tyrannical government. There is a sick group of people, okay? The Hillary Clintons, the Kamala Harrises, the Cory Bookers, almost all of the ones that are sitting there today on the left that are running for president, Bernie Sanders, I mean, he would take your guns in less than a heartbeat. I mean, the only reason to take your gun is so that they can control you. Look what they did in the UK. They took all the guns away. Nobody's allowed to have a gun. Just last week, guy pulls a knife out on the London Bridge and decides to start carving people up. Well, a group of people took the guy down, took the knife away. And how did it finally end? A cop with a gun shot the guy because he was wearing a bomber vest. Now, it was found out that it was not a bomb, but he didn't know that. And so a guy with a gun stopped the problem. This is not, it has nothing to do with your right to hunt. It has nothing to do with what kind of weapon you can own. They use those tactics to try to chip away because they know what this was a frontal assault. This was a stupid, third-rate, second-grade, amateurish, completely there was no thought to this at all. They just thought, hey, let's throw this against the wall and see if it sticks. Well, they took it straight to the Supreme Court, and they went, oh, hell, we're going to lose. The Heller decision's pretty much, given the opinion on this, so we know we're going to lose. So they withdrew it because of the Heller decision. They knew where they stood before the ink was even dry on the paper. What this is about is putting their toe in the water. How far can they go before people react? And if people just lay there and don't react, that sends them the signal that the next time they can get more. It's just like the hog at the trough. If you feed it a pound of corn today, it'll keep coming back to that trough. And that's no different than these politicians. They want one thing. That's control over you and your life. And if you don't think so, look at the kind of nanny state garbage they're trying to put on everybody. They're telling you don't have a right to freedom of speech. They've taken people off of YouTube. Dennis Prager, for freaking sakes. Can you believe that? They banned him from YouTube. Okay, and Alex Jones and Breitbart and whomever else that they don't agree with. Because what did they do? They redefined this term in the English language called hate speech. So what they have done is they have got you to believe that your First Amendment needs to be suspended anytime they don't like what you're saying. Anytime they don't like what you're saying, they simply label it as hate. And therefore, they can stifle you, remove your ability to be in the discussion, which is wrong. The First Amendment is not there to protect speech that we all agree with. Its intent and purpose was to protect that speech which is unpopular. And that's right in the document. Read the Federalist Papers. You need to do that on air sometimes so that people understand what the tenets of the Constitution were, what the framers thought about it. Because we're living in some very trying times. They keep testing the limits and the bounds of the Constitution because they want control. You've got a new world order that wants the United States is the last bastion of freedom, and we don't have very much. We think we're free, but we're really not. You and I are not free to live our lives truly the way that we want without any encumbrances. You have a federal government that sticks its hand out in your pocket every time you turn around, taking at the point of the gun more and more of your earnings. For what? They don't even keep the streets clean. The people in Oakland have to go put chopped up logs in the place just to try to get some sanity back. I mean, this is a situation that has gone on far too long. And this firearms debate, they always want to make it about behavior. Here's another little term. They took a gun, an inanimate object, a firearm that requires several actions to be placed into action before it can be used. And they animated it by giving it a behavior, and they called it an assault weapon. And then they said, assault is bad. Therefore, anything that is used for an assault, this particular weapon is an assault weapon. We must ban these particular weapons. Well, look what they did. They got to basically throw a huge tarp. They got the circus tent out and threw it over a bunch of weapons. Ha-ha, see? We have got it. You see what they did? Now you're down to what type of weapons you can own. Are you freaking kidding me? Do you want somebody telling you what kind of cell phone you can own, what kind of computer you can have, what kind of car you can drive, or if you can even own a car? This is the slippery slope that people don't understand. If you let them take away the Second Amendment, you have no First. And once you don't have those two amendments, you might as well just use that Constitution for toilet paper, because that's what it'll be good for.
That's
you
it.
Won't have any protection.
Yeah, that's it. And you're gonna kiss all your freedoms away goodbye if you keep letting a lot of this stuff go. And yeah, you're exactly right. The Second Amendment has nothing to do with hunting. It's to protect you and your family and you from a tyrannical government of telling you exactly that. Not only taking away your guns, but telling you what dictating every aspect of your life. And if you really, if you want, what is it that the Ben Franklin long attributed quote? Those who trade liberty for security deserve neither. And there's probably no truer words that have ever been spoken on that. It was great to have you on today, Dwayne, and catch up on a bunch of stuff. Rolling in the show, a lot of great insights on that. I think we solved probably 98.7% of the problems of the world, and if people would just pay a little bit more attention, yeah, we'll all be much happier, I think. But that's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow on Wicked Wednesday. Stephanie should be in. I think we got Mark League who's going to preview an event, and Jesse Acosta is going to see if you want to become a star. Maybe we'll tell you how you can do it. We'll be back in 23 hours. Mandatory that you be here on IE Newswire Daily. See ya.